Morning everyone, and welcome to our virtual summer industry showcase. My name's Chloe. I am an achievement tutor with the Manchester College for hospitality and catering industries. I'm going to hand you over to Neil now, who's going to start our showcase this morning with a cook along. Over to you, Neil.
Hi, thanks Chloe. Good morning everyone. Welcome to Monday morning, the night after an epic final with Italy last night. Unfortunately, we came out on the wrong side of that, but hey ho, life goes on. Next time. Okay, so yeah, this morning we'll be making a mille-feuille, which is a French word. French terminology is used a great deal throughout the industry. It means 1,000, mille, 1,000, and feuille, it means leaves. So it's 1,000 leaves, and basically it's called that because it's made of multiple very, very fine layers, so 1,000 leaves that form the pastry, which is puff pastry, and it's laminated. So as basically the heat penetrates the pastry, in between the layers is butter, and that dissolves and causes steam, and it pushes the layers of pastry up. So it becomes very, very crumbly. But what we're actually going to do is stop the pastry from rising today. So we want it to be really, really thin and really crunchy. So that's what we'll be doing, baking it by putting pressure on top of it. So it's traditionally made with a custard inside. You can get it in British bakeries up and down the country. It's called custard slice in England, but in French it's called mille-feuille. But today we're going to be making a summer version. So this morning I went out into my garden and picked strawberries. Very, very simple to produce. You don't need a lot of space, just a bit of soil and some strawberry plants, and let nature do its work. So this time of year, a real abundance of strawberries. So we pick a punnet like this every single day, and they're beautiful, lovely and sweet. So try it. You don't need masses of room either. So to begin with, we're going to be making the custard. So to make a custard, very, very simply, we're just going to boil some milk. So in here, I've got 250 millilitres of milk. And I'm just going to put this onto the stove to warm through. So to bring this up to the boil. So while that's boiling, I'll just introduce myself. My name's Neil Rippington. I'm the Director of Education for the Chefs Forum. So the Chefs Forum work in partnership with the Manchester College. And throughout the year, during your course, we'll be working with you and bringing lots and lots of very experienced, talented, some very famous chefs and hotel personnel to come and enrich your course and sort of bring that industry focus to your studies. So that's what we'll be doing, and this is just the start of it. So let's get on with this custard. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to just put some sugar into a mixing bowl and then some egg yolks. And this recipe card is available on your intranet at the college. And what we're going to do with this is just dissolve the sugar into the egg yolks. Just like that. Okay, so very simply. And then after that, we're going to take some custard powder. And some just flour. So this is the starch. This is what will thicken up the custard. And just make sure that that's nice and dissolved. Oops, my whiskers decided to get a life of its own. And just make sure that's nice and smooth so there's no lumps in it, like so. Okay. Now, traditionally, this would be made in a saucepan. You would cook this, but milk has this tendency to form a skin when you cook it in a saucepan. So what I'm going to do today is actually cook this in a microwave. And a microwave is really good because you don't have that problem of the milk boiling and sticking to the side of the saucepan, forming that layer of skin that often burns, and you get that that little black thin skin. So that's that. Milk's just coming up to the boil. Just keep an eye on that. turn it up a little bit more. Okay, my microwave is just over there, so it's going to be out of shot, but quite simply, that's what we're going to be heating this through that. So, puff pastry. This is called laminated pastry, and the reason it's called laminated is because it's got lots of layers. So basically, you've got a layer of paste, then you'd have a layer of butter, then you'd have a layer of paste, then you'd have a layer of butter, then a layer of paste, and as it cooks, it goes like this, as I said before. So that's what lamination is, basically just meaning lots and lots of different layers. But it takes a long time to make, so for convenience, I'm just going to use some ready-made paste today. So this is just a pound, I think I paid for it, a ready rolled paste, so it saves a lot of time and it's already quite thin. So it's pretty much ready to go as it is. Okay, and we've kept that in the fridge, so I'll just leave that there for now. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to choose some strawberries that are about the same height, because as we build this together with the pastry, we want the things to be an even height. It's no good to having a massive strawberry like that, and then with the pastry on top, it's actually going to form a slant. So I've selected strawberries that are around the sort of same size. And really, all I've done with them is something called hulling them. So basically, when you get a strawberry, and it's got its little root on like so, all we do with a waste bowl and a small knife is just use the tip of the knife, pointing it towards the center of the strawberry and just removing the little hole like so. So you've just got that, and that'll be perfect to eat as it is. So the the milk's come up to the boil. So all I'm going to do now is just add the milk to the custard. And just bring this together. Make sure it's all nice and smooth, no lumps. And this is just a plastic bowl, so it can go in the microwave. Don't put metal in the microwave, because you'll have all sorts of radiation issues where the radiation will bounce around. And just to show you what I meant about the milk, is that you can see in there that even though that's just a very small amount of time, there's a little bit of skin forming. It reacts with the surface of the saucepan, and if you let that continue to heat, that will just burn, and that will impart a slight burnt flavour into the milk, which is why I'm going to use the microwave to finish this off before that starts to happen. So that's in there now. So I'm just going to go over to the microwave, and we're going to heat this for about a minute, give it a stir, heat it a little bit longer, and keep stirring, and that will form a nice thick custard. Just going to put this over here for a second. So this little mat that I have here, it just stops the board from moving around. You can use a little bit of wet tissue, will do the same. So when the board goes on top of this, it just prevents things from moving around. Okay, so I'm going to stir the custard. sorry, I'm out of shot there, but you can see that just a minute and it's really starting to thicken up. So the starch within the custard, within the flours, the custard powder and the flour are really starting to thicken this up now. So this is a set custard. It's called crème pâtissier, which is a pastry cream. It's used in all sorts of confections and products. So it's a really good thing to learn to make. It's the basis of soufflés, fruit tarts. It's often the filling used for that. Just needs a little bit longer. And what we're going to do, once this is done, we're going to put it into an ice bucket so it cools down very quickly. So apologies again for being out of shot, but when you're cooking at home, that's what you have to do. So it needs another 30 seconds and then we'll be done. Okay, perfect. Right, the other thing that I've done as well, so you can see that's a nice thick paste now. Okay, so this is the pastry cream ready to go. Make sure it's got no lumps in it. So there's no burning there. That's just lovely, smooth paste. And all I've got there is just some ice, okay, and just want to bring this whisk, make sure there's no lumps in it at all, so it's really nice and smooth. I'm going to use one of the pastry scrapers, okay, which you'll have in your knife sets during college. Just going to make sure that that's all away from the sides. Like so. And I'm just going to put a little bit of cling film over the top of that, which helps to prevent a skin forming. So I normally let this cool, perhaps let it cool in the air for a little while and then put it into the fridge. Today, because we're in a bit of a hurry, I'm just going to leave a little gap just to let the air in. And I'm going to pop that into the water bath with ice and let that cool just out of sight there for a second. Okay, so that's the pastry made. The next thing we're going to do, and I've heated my oven to 220 degrees, is we're going to cook our pastry. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is use a ruler, because I want these to be about the same size. So it's going to be about 9 centimeters by approximately 4, and we're going to cut this into rectangles. So we've got just some flour. Just going to sprinkle a little bit onto the worktop, and cut a piece of this pastry. So I'm going to make a couple of these. So I'm going to cut sort of 6, but I'm going to have it slightly thinner than it is at the moment. So just a light dusting, because we don't want to add too much flour to it. I'm just going to make it really nice and thin. Keep the pastry moving. So, another thin dusting. Let the rolling pin do the work. I'm not putting loads of pressure on this. I'm just letting the rolling pin just pin the pastry out, as I said. As it starts to get thinner, you can use the rolling pin as well to pick the pastry up. So I'm just going to flick it on itself and then roll it, so that now I've got a hand free and I can still dust the table. When I want to put it back, just unroll it like so. Little dusting, just to get this nice and thin. Pick the pastry up again. Dust back onto the table. We're pretty much there now, I think. It's about the thickness. I want it, as I said, it's going to be really crisp and thin. So I'm going to take my board again, chopping board, because I don't want to cut straight onto the surface. I'm going to pick the pastry up. Just place it there for a second. Bring my board back. Place it on here. It's a bit bigger than the board itself, but it's the biggest board I've got, unfortunately, at home. And I'm going to take a knife and we'll just square the edge down a little bit here. So I'm just going to make a cut there so it's nice and square. You can use your offcuts for different things as well, so you don't waste anything. You can form it back. Okay, and as I said, I'm going to go for about 9 centimeters. So I'm just going to mark this. So it's 9 centimeters. Okay. Cut that there, and then I said 4. So that's there. I'll cut this straight across. So, and then this one can actually be our template. So I can cut this again. Could really have done with a bigger board here, but that's what I've got. And my tray ready. And all I'm going to do is place these little rectangular pieces of pastry onto the board. So again, I'll just use this one as my template. Just do a couple more. Okay, because I've worked with the pastry now, I'm just going to let it rest for a little while. So I'm going to put this into the fridge. This can be kept for different uses, so I'm just going to fold that up and put it back. That can be reused. And I'm going to stick I've got 10 rectangles of pastry there. I'm going to put this into the fridge, just let it rest for a little while, which relaxes the gluten. So my cream is chilling nicely, my pastry cream. This cream is quite a thick paste. So what I'm actually going to do to lighten it up a little bit is that I'm just going to whip some normal, well, double cream, just to thin this slightly down. So it's cold enough to go in the fridge now, taking that temperature down by putting it into the ice. I've just got some normal whipping cream in this bowl here. And what I'm going to do is get my whisk again, give it a wash, and then we'll just whisk this. Okay, so we'll have a little clean down. So I'm finished with the flour. I'll use the board again for the strawberries in a little while. Just wipe the table down. Knife can go. Just to sweeten this cream up a little bit, I'm just going to add some sugar. So this is just a tablespoon of caster sugar. Just about 30 grams, I suppose. 25, 30 grams. It's not sugar. And this is just to add a little bit of sweetness. And also a drop of vanilla. So I could use a vanilla pod. These are very expensive. They're about three or £4 if you go to the supermarket. So really expensive. So I'm not going to use that today. I'm just going to use some essence. So this is about £1. This is actually an extract, so it's a better quality. It's purer, and I'm just going to use a little cap. It's purer than an essence, so it's actually the extract from the vanilla. So if you're going to buy vanilla, try and buy the best quality you can. Obviously the pod is pure, but if you are going to use flavouring, try to get an extract rather than an essence. So we could use a machine, but there's not very much. So cream here, so I'm just going to whisk this by hand. Okay, so this is a double cream, so this is higher percentage fat than single cream, which makes it suitable for whipping. Okay, so we don't want this to be ultra thick. We want this semi-whip so that it gets a slight peak, but not a full peak as if you were going to pipe it. Okay, so we want this just to fold into the pastry cream which we made earlier. So you can see already that it's starting to take on a slightly thicker consistency, and I can actually see the lines where my whisk has been. So it doesn't take very long. It's good for you as well, good for your muscles, and saves on washing up as well if you're not using loads and loads of different machines and things. So this is a really summery little pastry dish. Strawberries banging season. We just finished Wimbledon. Wimbledon's associated, Wimbledon tennis tournament, very much associated with strawberries and cream in the British summertime. So you can see now that this is starting to thicken. Hopefully, you can see that the ribbon from my whisk is leaving those lines in there. And the vanilla and strawberries are a really great pairing, so that would be very nice to eat. Okay, so that's pretty much there. So I'm just going to put this in the fridge so you can see that it's not fully whisked, but it's nice semi-whisked consistency. So I'm going to put that in the fridge just to let that relax a little while. Test my pastry cream, make sure that's okay. Have a little taste. Yep. So that's cool now. So let's get on to the strawberries. So back with my chopping board, smaller knife this time. And what I'm going to do with the strawberries is I'm just going to cut them straight down the middle in half so that they present standing up like so. So I've just trimmed the bottom off so it's square. So I've just taken a piece off the bottom so that the strawberry's square, and then just going to cut them like so that they stand up nice and neatly like that. So I'll finish the rest of these guys off. Always have a little waste bowl for any waste products so that you're not making a mess, and put these back onto the tray ready for action. So strawberries, we've got loads of them at the moment outside, and I've actually frozen a few bags. Now, when you freeze a strawberry, it breaks the structure down. So when you defrost it, it won't retain its shape. But it's great if you want to make puree or a sauce, a coulis like this one, or if you're going to make like a roulade or something like that with cream in the center, then it's perfect for that. But if you want to do something like this, it's essential that you're using fresh strawberries. Okay, so there's my strawberries prepped. Put those back in the fridge. Clean up again. Check the pastry. So here's my pastry. Could give it slightly longer, but to time. So what I'm going to do is just give it a little dock, which means that I'm just putting some impressions with a fork into it. And this is another thing to stop it rising. So if somebody says to dock your pastry, it basically means to do this. So I'm just going to put some little indentations, which is another way just to break down those layers of lamination that I was talking to you about a second ago or earlier. And we're really going to double whammy this because I'm going to put a weight on it as well. So in here, some baking paper. Cover these up, like so. And then I'm going to put a tray on top of these, okay, which will just keep it from rising. So seems a bit strange, but that's what we're going to do, okay? So these are now going to go into the oven, which I've preheated at 220 degrees to bake our pastry. So that will take sort of about 10 minutes or so. So time for a coffee, I think. So that's where we are so far. Everything's ready. Pastry cream is going. Well, it's chilling down. The creme chantilly, which is the sweetened double cream with a little bit of vanilla and some sugar, that's ready. So we've got about equal quantities of that, about 250 mils of each. And then we're just going to fold those together to make what is actually called creme diplomat. Okay, so if you get the chantilly, double cream, sugar, vanilla, which is beautiful by itself, tastes sort of a little bit like a vanilla ice cream, I guess. And then the pastry cream, the creme patissier, and we're going to put equal quantities of that together, so it actually just makes the pastry cream that little bit lighter. Mix those together, and that's called creme diplomat. So another great paste to use. You'll use it many times on your course, I'm sure. Okay, so that's in there. I'm now just going to get a cooling rack. So when the pastry is ready, I want the air to circulate around it so it gets really nice and crisp. So I'm just going to get a couple of cooling racks, put them on the table so that's ready to go when they come out.
Could you make this recipe with any other fruit, Neil, other than strawberries? Would it work with any other fruit?
Definitely, yeah. You could use raspberries, would be beautiful. I think berries would be the best fruits. So anything like a raspberry or a blackberry. I don't think it would work particularly well with citrus fruits like oranges or lemons or limes or anything. So, but I think anything summery, blackberries. You could use blueberries, definitely raspberries, strawberries, obviously, as I'm doing today. But no, it's a great question. But you know, other than that, give it a go. You know, there's no real certain rules. I'm just sort of telling you what I think would work well. So that would be my advice. But yeah, definitely anything in season as well. I wouldn't really try and make this in the winter when you've got to import strawberries from different countries. But certainly June and July when strawberries are just going absolutely bananas. No pun intended. But yeah, for sure. Yeah, great question.
Amazing.
Any others?
What about the creme diplomat? Could that be flavoured, or could you make a chocolate creme diplomat or something along those lines?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, definitely. You can make you can put chocolate into. You could make a chocolate version of this for sure. You can make chocolate pastry cream, so you put some cocoa powder in at the beginning, and that would make it very chocolatey. In fact, chocolate and strawberries wouldn't be a bad mix. They go well together. So yeah, definitely put some chocolate in. Another great question. Any others? Keep firing them.
Oh, I'm just trying to think.
Well, another thing, you don't have to use puff pastry. You could use sweet pastry, like a short crust pastry with some sugar in it, like a shortbread. You get more of a shortbread type effect. That would be nice. So you don't have to use puff pastry to do this. You could make it for sure with a short or a sweet pastry, which is another idea if you've got some paste that you're not using for anything else. Let's look at these. Okay, Chloe?
Is there a dairy alternative that you could use to make creme diplomat if you're a vegan and you're trying to do this recipe?
It's almost like
nut milks and things like that.
I'm glad you asked that, because here I've got a double cream, which is actually plant-based.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that is totally plant-based. So you could use that.
I haven't seen that one before, actually.
Yeah, I used it for a different course actually, for people that were dairy-free. And a lot of them had never heard of it either, but I got that in Sainsbury's, so it's readily available. It's not, something you have to go to a specialist supplier for, and it works just the same as double cream. It whips. I actually made a chocolate mousse with it, but I used the cream to lighten the mousse, so it's a vegan chocolate mousse. So yeah, amazing. So there's some amazing products out there now. So yeah, totally vegan, dairy free.
A really good dairy free product is the Oatly Barista oat milk. I think that's used in a lot of cooking at the moment because it's very, very creamy, like normal milk. Whereas a lot of the other nut milks, almond milk and things like that are on the waterier side. So I tend to cook with Oatly Barista because I don't drink milk. But that's a really good product.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You've never seen that cream before?
Never seen a what, sorry?
The cream that I just showed you, you've never come across that before?
No, I was surprised. I've never seen it before. The brand Oatly, again, they do a custard, I think, and an ice cream and a yogurt, but I've never actually seen a cream that's sort of dairy free. And does it taste quite similar to normal cream?
Yeah, I as I say, I put it into a mousse with chocolate, and I served it to my family, and nobody said, "Oh, this tastes a bit different." You really wouldn't have been able to tell. Had I not said anything, nobody would have ever known. It just tasted, and me included, I couldn't really taste any difference to using a dairy cream whatsoever.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. Yeah, and it's not expensive. It's the same price as standard cream, really.
And I suspect it's a lot lower on calories, possibly.
Oh, I don't know about that. It's going to have fat in it for sure, because it needs to whip. Yeah, so energy, it's 288 calories per 100 mils, and 31 grams of fat per 100. So a third of it. It's pretty similar to a whipping cream. So yeah, double cream is 54 grams, so it's less fat, 497 calories. So it's better. Yeah, it's better. It's about half the calories.
Oh, that's quite a lot.
Of a dairy cream. So it is. Yeah, it's good. Good in that sense as well. So not only is it dairy free, but it's also lower in calories as well.
That just means you can have
a
double portion.
Yeah. So you can see the pastry. It's just started to colour. It has risen slightly. It's not quite there yet. So I'm just going to put this back in, but I thought it'd be a good time to show you. If you wanted to make it even thinner, then you could put some weights on it. So let's see what I've got that I could put that's safe to go in the oven. Put some of these little baking sheets on there just to keep the weight down a little bit more. It's really going to press it down now even more. So obviously anything you put in the oven has to be heat proof. So that won't take very long now. Got these cooling racks ready. Okay, so all ready to go. I've also got something that I'm going to place the baking tray on. So this is a little trivet, as it's called. So rather than putting things straight onto the table, because obviously the heat will conduct, and then if you put your hand on it, that's obviously going to heat up. And also to protect the table, I'm just going to put a little trivet down. So when I remove anything from the oven, it can go onto the trivet rather than straight onto the work surface. So it's safety. It's also good practice. It'll protect the table and the surface. And obviously you can't see heat when it conducts into a surface. So if somebody else comes along and just puts their hand down and there's been a really, really hot tray or something like that on there, then they're gonna, you know, they'll feel the heat from that. So good practice to do that. So I think everything to do with cooking is all about preparation, trying to think about the next step, trying to keep nice and clean and tidy as you go, think about what you're doing. Sometimes you forget, which is fine, we're all human beings, but you know, just try and get into good habits and make sure that you do things in the right order. So while that's just finishing off, I'm just going to check on my two creams. Okay, so I've got my two creams, same sort of volume. Just going to pastry cream, a little stir. What I'm going to do is fold this whipping cream. This is the chantilly. Well, you don't have to have. I just like giving it a little edge of sweetness. What we're going to do is just fold this cream into the pastry cream. Okay, so I'm not going to whip this in, I'm just going to fold it. I reckon right. Okay, so nice and gently bring this round, fold the cream, the two creams together to form a diplomat. Okay, so the two creams are now folded together into this creme diplomat. Okay, so this is going to go into the fridge Bring these edges down. Any more questions, Chloe?
What's your favourite pastry dish to recreate?
Right. I actually love vanilla. It's one of my favourite flavours. And like sweet pastry. So very, very simple, but I can actually show you something. So I've got some sweet pastry that I made. So this seems a bit set up, doesn't it? But this is just some sweet pastry. It's just a very basic flour, butter, sugar, and an egg. Okay, just lined into a little rectangular mold and baked. So that's just a little shell. And I just think that things like this do really well. So while we're waiting for this to finish off, I'll just show you.
Neil, how have you got that pastry so thin, lining the tin? Have you brushed it on or piped it in the tin?
No, you just roll it, place it in, and then just cut the edges off. So very similar to a little bit. So yeah, it's just something like this, but use a rectangular one. So you just roll the paste out, cover it over the top, press into the edges, and then just use a little knife to trim around and the cases out. Right. So as I said, we're just going to put these little cases onto the cooling rack. Let these crispen up nicely. Okay. Right, so this is a piping bag. They used to be made of cotton. People have washed them in material. This is a disposable one, so quite hygienic, but it is single use really. You could possibly wash them and use them again, but they normally come in rolls. Well, they come in rolls, I should say. You get a big roll like this, and you just pull one out and tear it off. Okay. What we're going to do is put the pastry cream inside here and cut the end off. So I've also got a nozzle piping tube, okay, which is going to go into the bag. So we want to cut this so that the pastry tube comes out of the end of the bag, but not so big that it falls out. So we just want to cut just enough off the tube to actually just come through like so, and then hold. Okay, so finish with the oven now. So save energy, turn that off. What I'm going to do is just invert the bag so that I can hold my hands inside it like so, and then the pastry cream is going to go in there. You could, some people like to use a container or stand it up. You could even use a glass, so that makes it sort of hands free. Okay, that's ready to go into the fridge while the pastry's cooling down. So Chloe, you asked me a question about my favourite pastry dish. So this is really simple. Here's a bit of creme diplomat that I had actually from yesterday. So this is ready to go in my piping bag. So all I'm going to do is pipe some little shells. And then I'll get some strawberries. I'm just going to pick some of these ones that I had from earlier. So small ones, I think. So I want 4 about the same size. We'll just trim them up, like I said earlier. So take the cores out.
This looks like a lovely petite French pastry.
Yep. But I just love the simplicity of it and the flavours. So all I'm going to do is pop a strawberry on top of each little nozzle. And if I was going to be really flashy, put a glaze over it or something like that. But just really, really simple.
Amazing.
And it just eats so nicely. You've got the crunch, you've got that vanilla, and so simple. So
Such a shame we can't taste it through the camera, Neil.
well, that's where I can, you see. So there you go. I've just showed you the inside. Okay, so you've got the paste, the creme diplomat, and then the strawberry, and it just eats so well.
We're jealous watching you eat it. Maybe you could put some in the post for me.
Really nice. So not particularly complicated, but just the flavours and the textures for me just really work well. So I'm going to put this together now, this dish. So I've just got a plate. I'll put it together on a tray and then transfer it. So again, all I'm going to do is try and think about, you know, the way this is going to be presented. So it's going to be in 3 layers, like so. Just put one together. And I've got to think about the strawberries and the shape of them. So I want them to stand up. So what I'm going to do is just place 3 strawberries on their sides, facing outwards. I'm going to put one on top of there, like so, as well. So I need another layer. Could put one at the end as well if I wanted to. And then I'm going to take my creme diplomat and we'll just pipe some. Nozzles of cream in between.
Are you piping that in between the strawberries, Neil, or on top of them?
Yeah, if it was slightly bigger, I'm just going to have it sort of in between. So this one is just going to sit on top of that one, like so. And then just with a little bit of icing sugar. I've got some icing sugar. And we'll just finish this off with a little dust. Got a tiny one. It's only making one, so this is the tiniest sieve you'll ever see. What I'm going to do is just dust. On top. There you go, little Mille-feuille. Napoleon. Oh, it's fallen over. I should have lifted it up. Can we cut that bit? Shouldn't have lifted it up in the air. Oh dear. Sorry. Sorry?
We'll go for take two.
Cut it. Yeah, for take two. Now let me just clean this up a bit. Clean the plate up one sec. There you go. I'll just put it together.
Amazing.
Okay. So yeah, so a little delicate, but again, we could put. I said earlier that we could put some coulis and stuff. So these are just strawberries that have been pureed with a little bit of lemon juice and a little bit of icing sugar. So you could serve like a bit of sauce with it or something. A little pool, just to give it a little finish like so.
Looks very aesthetically pleasing.
So voila, Mille-feuille Napoleon. So it's a creme diplomat, a pound's worth of puff pastry, strawberries from the garden. So very simple, very nice to eat. And there's the other version.
When it's constructed like that, you wouldn't think it was such simple ingredients.
No, very few ingredients. And there's the other one, the strawberries with the sweet paste.